It's the drop the E rule. What is that all about? This is one of 3 great spelling rules whenever you have a base word and you need to attach a suffix. One is the doubling rule. That's a different video. The next one is the drop the E, which is what we're going to cover today, and the next one is the change the Y to I, which will be next. So what is this rule? It's very simple. When you have a word that ends in an E, you take it off before you add the suffix, as long as the suffix begins with a vowel. Sound familiar? Just like with the doubling rule, it has to be a vowel suffix. So I do a little chant that goes like this: take off the E, add ing. Take off the E, add ed. Take off the E, add ing. And that's as simple as it gets. Just notice that when you are using a word like slice, that you want to make sure that you've taught them the soft C. That when there's an E, I, or Y after the C, it'll make it soft sound S. So when don't we use this pattern? Well, with hopeful, what do you notice? What does full start with? A consonant, not a vowel. And how about nicely? There's a consonant here, L. It doesn't start with a vowel, so we don't drop the E. What do they need to know before we teach this? Well, I instantly, when we're learning CVCC words like rest, I'll say, how do we change rest to rested? So rest doesn't require any of the 3 great spelling rules. So it's just a very simple, how do you change rest to rested? And I teach them all about ed, which means it happened sometime in the past, or some people say it already happened. So, and what sound does the ed make in rested? It makes the id sound. Even though we hear id, you spell it with ed. I do that all orally, and I show them my little ed cue card, but that's where it starts to learn this pattern. And then when I teach the CK, I might say, just orally, without even the word, how do I change pack to packed? And what sound do you hear? What sound? And then they say ed, because they've learned, oh, happens in the past. Yesterday, I. And then they learn, oh, packed. They learn the 3 sounds that at the end of packed, it sounds like t, and that we use ed. Then the next stage of learning about the drop the E rule is when they first learn about the doubling rule. Flop becomes flopped, and they have to double the P before adding the suffix. So they're starting to get that sometimes you have to do something before adding the ed. Now we're at this base word, skate, and now we have a word with E, and we have to teach them that rule. In order to teach that, though, they have to really have a good strong grasp of their short vowels, and well, vowels in general, because how else are they going to know what a vowel suffix is? So you can do, again, as a card sort, talking about which suffixes begin with vowels and which do not, but typically you're going to be starting here, right, with SED and ING. But they start to learn that there are more than just these 3 attachments. Sometimes I talk about them like vacuum cleaner attachments. Now you can get them to build, test out this drop the E. Do we drop the E here? No, because the S begins with a consonant. That's not a vowel suffix. Is this a vowel suffix? Yep, drop the E. Is this a vowel suffix? Yes, drop the E, and so on. You can even introduce a new suffix like which means one who or that which. One who drives is a driver. Take off the E, and you get driver. You also, if not it, you have to make sure that they're writing lots and lots of words. This is where it's going to all get solidified. So does wave, how do we change wave to waving? But then when they're doing authentic, real writing of sentences, of stories, you want them to write as much as possible. And of course, you're reading lots and lots of reading text is so important, and pointing out where is the drop the E rule word here. And that's not easy to find because there's no E. You have to sort of really, really look hard for that, but they figure it out. And no, it's not knotted. That's the doubling rule. So they start to learn the difference between the 2. And the exceptions to this rule are noticeable. You have to keep that E there. Otherwise, the C will lose its soft sound. Same with courageous. It's not courageous, it's courageous. And so you have to keep the E in manageable, otherwise it's managable. So that is the drop the E. Lots of reading, lots of writing, lots of practice, and they will start to catch on to these 3 great spelling rules. Ta-da!